All right, let's talk about some compressors. This is the review for quiz number 13, and you know how I like my compressors. Yeah, I won't go into my spiel, but the main thing is compressors reduce dynamic range. That's the thing I want you to spit back at me whenever I point at you and say, what does a compressor do? Reduces dynamic range. That'll make me happy. Now we went over 4 controls that we used for compressors, and I hope I got the chance that everybody could do this in this order. And so this is a good way to kind of learn a new compressor, of finding out a good setting on a particular sound that you are compressing. And so the first thing I like to do is set the attack, and that's how fast the compressor starts compressing, right? Yeah, in another class we'll get more into that. But the attack is how fast it starts compressing, and then I move on to the release, how fast it stops compressing. All right. And a general rule of thumb is sort of faster, shorter sounds are going to have shorter, faster attacks and releases. So drums, I think of fast attacks and releases, right? Synths and washy pad sounds, they can have very slow attacks and releases. Vocals and guitars are kind of somewhere in the middle, unless they need something different. Yeah, so that's, anyway. Attack, how fast it starts. Release, how fast it stops. The ratio is the percentage of the input to output. So all those graphs that I draw on the board, and I make the X and the Y, and it goes up at a 45-degree angle, and then at a point it stops, and it goes like, that's where we're talking about the ratio. Once it goes above the threshold, how much is the volume being turned down for each additional amount of volume going in. And the last thing, the threshold that I just referenced, that's the volume at which the compressor starts to compress. So if you set the threshold too high and the volume never gets there, it never gets compressed. The attack, the release, the ratio mean nothing because you haven't reached the threshold. Right, you set the threshold, you can set the threshold low, and you can set the ratio to be 1-to-1, and again, it's not doing anything because it's going over the threshold, but it's not compressing anything. All right, but that's enough of that. Anyway, compressors, attack, release, ratio, threshold. That's the order that I like to do them, to be able to hear them, that I think you should experiment with, and until the point where you are very comfortable with using it not just as a preset plugin, but something that you actually can wield as an audio weapon. Okay, thank you very much, and be safe out there.